Michael Douglas has had an extraordinary career, both as a producer and as an actor. At 31, he won an Oscar for producing One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and in 1987, Best Actor for Wall Street. He continues to produce films such as this summer's blockbuster hit Face Off, and he stars in the upcoming David Fincher film The Game, co-starring with Sean Penn. I'm pleased to have him join us for a conversation about his life in and outside the movies. Welcome to this table.
Thank you, Charlie. Nice to be here
At
with
long
you.
last.
At long last, exactly.
Tell me about The Game, and what was it that attracted you as an actor to this project?
It was the script. I mean, it always starts with the script, and The Game was probably the best script I'd read like in 8 years or 10 years, in large part because I couldn't tell what was going to happen next. I mean, most movies that I read or look somewhere very early on, I kind of guess where this is going. But this script was so well structured, and to the very last page, I did not know where this movie was going. So that was the script, and the other key ingredient was the director, David Fincher. David had done a picture called Seven, which I'd seen a year and a half ago.
Brilliant.
Before that, great film.
Did well at the box office, too.
Extremely well in the box office. And David had been involved in working on this screenplay for about a year and a half, so I could see how clear his vision was and how well it was thought out. And I was a big fan of his. As it turned out, I was right. He's a really visionary guy, one of maybe 3 or 4 directors I've worked with who you felt saw the movie from beginning to end, you know, right from the very, very beginning.
You had no role in the producing of this?
No, none whatsoever. No, it's the joy of acting, Charlie. It's really the joy of acting and not having to worry about any of the other responsibilities of producing.
And you can turn yourself over without and shut off that producing, controlling instinct.
I welcome it. I relish it. And again, having someone like David involved is such a clear idea made my job so much easier.
Yeah. What's the story? Because it's a little...
The story...
Strange.
It's a little strange. Try to capture. The story is really the story of a wealthy, third-generation San Franciscan investment banker.
Gordon Gekko.
Well, Gordon Gekko may be the New York version. Yeah,
Yeah,
goes west. But this man's like old money. Gordon was sort of like new money. Right. This guy is old third-generation money, still living in his family's estate, about to celebrate his 48th birthday, haunted by the fact that his father died, committed suicide in his 48th year.
And he saw him.
And he saw him. And he also just feels pretty removed, somewhat nihilistic, recently divorced, no children. Sort of a modern-day Scrooge character, you might say. No spiritual values in his life whatsoever except making money. And his younger, dysfunctional brother, typecasting by Sean Penn, he comes out of, surprisingly, to visit him. They haven't seen each other in a couple of years, comes to visit him, and gives him a birthday gift, a gift certificate to a company called Consumer Recreation Services that creates life games. And I ask him, what is a life game? Is it an escort service? No. He says, it's something that's going to change your life. And my brother Sean had done it, and as it turns out, it's true. And
the movie changed the life.
It changes his life.
Nicholas
Van Orton. And the story really is, the whole movie is this experience of playing this game, where you don't know what is the real life and what is the game.
And does he know?
No, and nor does the audience know what's exactly is happening. I mean, he begins to realize that there's something going on outside of his control, but he's never quite sure which people that he appears in his life are part of the game and which aren't.
And what's the point here, that he's out of control, that somehow he's not in control and he's at the mercy of a series of events that somehow are going to teach him something about living? Yes.
Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate that. It's very well done. Yeah, you know, so much of our lives our identity is tied up with our careers, for instance, or our careers and our families. And that's where we get our confidence, and that's how we identify ourselves with. Well, if you take away somebody's work, or you take away their family, you may see a tremendous loss of confidence. And then you turn to your nourishment of your soul, or who you are, and if there's nothing there, then you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. What amazed me about this, we're going to see the scene in just a moment, was that this guy would come home in a big house, by himself, good looking, power, money, all those sort of values out there that are rather hollow, but had them all, and they can provide pleasure. He had no pleasure. He'd sit there watching CNN and having a meal prepared by his cook.
Well, I know I think we've all had certain times in our lives where we've gotten so isolated from the world around us, and this is a man who never developed his people skills and finally found himself exactly that, in this isolated tower, removed from everybody and not feeling anything.
No humanism at all.
No humanity whatsoever.
All right, roll tape. This is Sean Penn. Before I see the tape, and originally it was two friends, not two brothers.
No, as far as I knew, the script that I got was always my younger brother.
Okay, roll tape. Here it is.
So what brings you to town, Conrad? Everything all right?
Yeah.
Need anything?
No.
Really?
No, I don't need anything from you. I just found myself laying naked on a beach near Ibiza, and all of a sudden it clicked. October 12th. Nikki's birthday.
October 11th.
Whatever. This is for you.
You shouldn't have.
What do you get for the man who has everything?
Consumer Recreation Services. Well, I do have golf clubs.
Call that number.
Why?
They make your life fun.
Fun.
You know what that is? You've seen other people have it. It's an entertainment service.
An escort service?
A profound life experience.
Sorry. I'll just get
No, it's all right. Just...
Tell me you'll call.
I said I would.
No, you didn't. I think you'll like this. I did. That was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'll call them.
Do it. For you.
I said I'll call, okay? All right, I'll call.
The brother Conrad, played by Sean, he's doing this because he knows, he cares about his brother, he knows it'll make a difference, and he knows his brother's is out there with no center.
Yes, I mean, ultimately we get that sense, but we're not sure for a long time what exactly was up his sleeve.
Yeah. What do you look for when you choose a role?
I choose a movie, Charlie. I mean, I really don't think a whole lot about the role. I think about when I read a script, if it's a movie that I like, if it's a movie I'd like to go see, if it's a movie that moves me, either scares me, makes me hot, makes me cry, and that's the primary principal issue. Then, of course, I'll go look at the part if I like the movie. I think most actors, probably those who have not produced, tend to look just at their part first.
So this is where your producing instincts serve you well.
I think so. Yeah, that and the fact of just, I'm a big supporter of what I learned at the university in the theater department, all those Greek tragedies, Greek comedies, structure, learning all about structure. My 4 years on streets of San Francisco with a prologue, 4 acts, an epilogue. So I've always been big on structure, and I think that's really kind of paid off.
Are you satisfied? I mean, do you feel like this is, look, some 25 movies produced or acted in?
25 I've acted in.
Acted in. And produced how many, would you say?
About 10 or 12.
Yeah. You've gotten the full measure of appreciation that you deserve?
Do I think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I feel really blessed. I mean, I look back to when I was 30 and produced One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Won an Oscar.
And won an Oscar at 31. And I remember telling Milos Forman and everybody said, well, this is it. I mean, this is it. Doesn't get any better than this. It's all downhill from here.
Where the hell do I go?
What am I going to do? I mean, this is what happened. Be thankful because, you know, it doesn't get any better than this. And
I struck gold young.
Struck gold young. It happens to a lot of people. It may be all downhill from here, but I did it. So that was really where I was at. And then for a period after that, I produced China Syndrome, then Romancing the Stone, had parts in those. But it really wasn't until Fatal Attraction and Wall Street, which is only about 11 years ago, 12 years ago, that I got acknowledgement as an actor. And that meant a tremendous amount to me, the Oscar on Wall Street.
Looking back, do you think it may be even better for you that you really became a star in your 40s rather than...
Yes, so I certainly have a much more appreciation for it. A lot of these guys are becoming stars much younger. But I always thought so, just physically, Russian and English blood. I always looked young for my age, and so I thought it was going to take a little while to kind of grow in to myself. And I remember telling some friends of mine in my late 30s, you know, saying, you know, you watch. I said, when I turn 40, it's really going to happen for me. And they look, yeah, sure, Mike.
Sure
whatever
it is,
you
Michael.
say, Squin, whatever you say, yeah, right. It's going to happen when I'm 40. Yeah, right.
It's going to happen. You were confident.
Confidence came very late to me. In this particular area, as an actor, I've always had tremendous stage fright when I first went on stage. There's a lot of jokes and stories about having a wastebasket off stage and puking in it and all of that before I went on. And it took all the years. So it was not inherently a natural thing for me to be in front of a camera. It's taken like a lot of years. But
you were not a born actor.
No, I don't feel I was. Although it was in my blood. My mother's an actress, Diana, as well as obviously my father. So it took a long time. It was much more of a challenge for me in terms of approaching it. But I've just sort of recently been figuring that the risk factor is something that obviously is an adrenaline for me. I was talking to somebody recently today who said they've identified the genes in people, a gene responsible for people that take risks. Yeah. And I thought it was just a dysfunctional family, you know, but I'm very happy to know that it was a gene.
You have one of those.
But I mean, I look back as a kid, and I used to dive off high spots and, race cars or this or that. And in a strange way, overcoming stage fright and all of that was part of the risk and the challenge. And then movies like The Game or things that seem very sort of dicey and dangerous, there's sort of a thrill, danger aspect that's exciting.
There is, when you think about the characters you have played, I mean, in terms of people who are victims but become victimizers, people in conflict and in moral struggle and all of that, does it somehow, in retrospect, look like, well, you know, there's some subconscious kind of thing of who I am affecting what I choose to do and what I like doing?
I think so. I mean, I'm a reality-based guy. I read 4 newspapers a day. Science fiction doesn't do it for me too much.
Not for a second.
Fantasy stuff doesn't do it so much. So then you deal with the reality of people and characters. And then, as opposed to my dad's time, which you had good guys or bad guys, heroes and villains, it was after World War II. Things are much more simplified as to who was good and who was bad. And I think in my generation, the Vietnam War cannot be underestimated in terms of creating a confusion in a lot of people as to who are the enemy, who's really bad, and who's good. So I think people struggle every day with trying to make the right moral choice. I mean, every little decision is, do I do something for somebody else or I do it for myself? And I don't think anybody's necessarily off the scales in one way to the other. And that's what interests me, and that dilemma. And if you deal in psychological, thrillers, you have to deal with those kind of moral dilemmas.
When you decided to become an actor, why? Just because, was it you drift into it, or did...
I was a hippie. I was a hippie. They called me into the office. I'd already left school for a year. I'd been in a nice private prep school education. I remember when I was my last year at Choate Prep School back east here in Connecticut, and you go to your college advisor's office. I was like a travel agent. They're going through these brochures, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's that? It said Campus by the Sea. No picture of the university, just a guy walking down the beach with 2 girls in 2-piece bathing suits. In '63, you did not see many 2-piece bathing suits back east. I want to go there.
That's a place for me.
And luckily, it just turned out it was the height of the UC system. It was a great, great system. Clark Kerr was president at the time.
It was University of California at Santa Barbara.
University of California at Santa Barbara. And then... So I got through this great private education in an all-boys school, flunked out after the first year. They were very nice. Maybe you should take
because
a break.
Of those girls in the 2-piece bathing suits.
Yeah. I said, wow, hey, the 2,001-year-old man, hey, there's girls here. And came back, and then finally my junior year, they called me into the office and said, you got to get a major. There's general education. And I said, well, I guess I'll take theater, man. I figured it'd be easy. My mother was an actress. My dad was an actor. So I've learned, I think, when you have successful parents, mothers or fathers that are successful, whatever business, the children generally take a little longer. They're late bloomers. It takes you a little longer to find out who you are and what you want to do.
It's surprising how many second-generation sons and daughters that have few have become major stars. You, Jane Fonda, not many.
No, not many.
Karl Malden, what role did he play in having you come to streets of San Francisco?
Well, he approved me.
Yeah, but it wasn't his idea.
No, Quinn Martin, quite an amazing producer at that time, said we got a kid for the sidekick role. And I said, I think you probably know him. He's Kirk's son. He says, if his Kirk's son's good enough for me. And I think that had, and then we came in and met each other. He looked at me once briefly, said, that's fine. And I think he knew something about...
He looks all right.
He looks okay. Yeah. He can walk, he can talk.
Yeah.
And I guess he knew, I think he probably had a sense of what my father's work ethic was.
Yeah. Which was?
Unrelenting and tremendous stamina. My father's got tremendous stamina and tremendous...
And desperate for success.
And desperate for success. He, he talks about, look, my story is a cliche, rags to riches. Right. So yours is much more difficult to understand. Your generation is, and I don't think it's appreciated enough. But he was great. So, and somewhere along the line, he was right. I didn't know I had it then, but that experience was the most valuable in my career. The foundations that I got. Karl Malden, most of his career had been a supporting actor. Marlon Brando had always liked to work with him. And you knew why? Because acting is working together. Acting is reacting. And you learn to work and support each other. And that's really carried me through my career after that.
Your dad owned the rights to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Right.
And was going to develop it for himself.
Well, he did. He bought Cuckoo's Nest in galley form in '61, '62, had it developed into a play by Dale Wasserman, went back to Broadway in '63 to do the play. The play ran about 6 months. Tried to keep it going, didn't work. The idea, of course, was to take the play and then make it into a movie. Well, it didn't work. And then he tried for 4 years, 5 years to try to get it made, couldn't, was going to sell it. And about that time, my acting career had taken, shall we say, a little dive. I'd come out to Hollywood, did a CBS Playhouse and a couple of features, and then I was sliding off in episodic television. I loved the book. I'd read it in college then. I said, look, let me take it and try to run with it. Around that time, the new off-Broadway productions of Cuckoo's Nest started popping up around the country. There's a new wave, but then it still took me about 4 more years.
But you talked him into letting you make it into a film?
I talked him into letting me run with it, producing it, and hopefully for him to act in it. And
then you said to him, I'm going in another direction?
Well, that's not my choice. Dad likes to always put the guilt on me that it was, but it's the director's choice. And the truth of the matter was, it was like 12 years later, and people change, ages, all of that stuff.
He was going to play the Nicholson role.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then at 31, you won the Oscar. After that, the next thing was what?
After Cuckoo's Nest, I basically left the television series at the end of 4 years. I had a 5-year contract. I left after 4 years. Everybody thought I was nuts to go produce this picture, Cuckoo's Nest, to leave the successful show. So after I had the Oscar, I was a television actor trying to get into feature films as an actor. But as a producer, I'd won an Oscar, and I went on to develop the China Syndrome with Jane Fonda and Jack Lemmon.
And about 3 months later, 3 Mile Island came along?
3 weeks after...
3 weeks?
3 weeks after China Syndrome opened, 3 Mile Island happened.
And that led to this notion that you somehow had this great sense of the American zeitgeist, that you somehow could pick projects that were on the consciousness.
Correct. That started all that sense. And they also said, well, why do you want to act? I said, what do you want to act for? You're a big, successful producer. And I said, well, I think I've got, something to offer someplace.
How did Fatal Attraction happen?
Fatal Attraction happened through Sherry Lansing and Stanley Jaffe, 2 producers, who came to me. Sherry had been a wonderful supporter of mine from the days when she was first president at Columbia, and helped acquire a project called Romancing the Stone. And then later I did a picture for her at Fox called The Star Chamber. She was the first executive at MGM when I did Coma, way back with Jean-Pierre Bougeot, way back in the beginning. And they had a good script from James Dearden, and we worked on it together.
There's a story that De Palma walked off because you were going to be the actor. And, and they backed you up and said...
They did.
Michael's our guy.
Yeah. I was very grateful. It's one of the reasons why Brian and I will not be working in the near future. But
No,
we
wait
were
a minute.
looking.
No, wait a minute. You remember that, don't you?
Oh, I used to. I mean, you kidding, Charlie? Vengeance, revenge was my favorite form of motivation back in those days. I mean, I learned that from Dad. You know, angry, hang on to it. Someday I'll get this. Someday I'll get back. But you need it. You used to need that false sense of energy.
Oh, you need it.
Well,
a motivation.
You need it for the stamina to get pictures made and projects made sometimes. You had to lie there in bed and say, Cuckoo's Nest, everybody rejected it. Yeah. You got to say, and then finally you can see him say, someday I'm going to get there, I'm going to get those guys and everything else. Anger is a form of energy.
I'll show them.
Anger is a false sense of energy, and hopefully, if you're a healthy person, you learn to get older to develop other ways of creating energy other than that.
Have you?
Yes, I think I have. I think I have. But to finish that question, we won't let him go on, is that, yes, they said, what about Brian? And Brian said, well, I'll do the picture if you dump Michael. And they said, well, no, we've been working on this with him, and we can't, and I'll be very grateful to them for that.
And if Brian came to you and said, listen, I want to work for you.
Yeah.
You'd say.
I'd say, booby, baby. I don't know what I'd say. He's a talented director.
But he's not going to be working for Michael Douglas. All right, roll tape. This is Fatal Attraction made Michael Douglas a star. Here it is.
So, what can I get you? I've got scotch, I've got vodka, there's an Chablis in the...
Cut this will you? Just cut it! I don't know what you're up to, but I'm gonna tell you it's gonna stop right now.
No, it's not gonna stop. It's gonna go on and on until you face up to your responsibilities.
What responsibilities?
I'm pregnant. I'm going to have our child.
Alex, that's your choice, honey. That has nothing to do with me.
I just want to be a part of your life.
Oh, this is the way you do it, huh? Showing up at my apartment?
Well, what am I supposed to do? You won't answer my calls. You changed your number. I mean, I'm not going to be ignored, Dan.
You don't get it. You don't get it.
Don't you remember our weekend? I mean, wasn't that wonderful? Why can't we just be like that again? I know you feel it, too. I mean, what are you so afraid of?
Hey, just don't flatter yourself, Alex.
What did it do for you?
Well, again, it was a picture nobody wanted to make.
Yeah.
Initially, it was a tremendous commercial success and a critical success. And that picture, combined with Wall Street coming out 3 months later in the same year, just put me on a whole different,
as
level.
An actor.
As an actor.
And then you won the Oscar.
Right.
How did that compare to winning the Oscar as a producer at 31?
It was better. It meant, to be acknowledged by your peers, to get a nomination. I went, wow, my fellow actors in the Academy have nominated me.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, and I just think that it was a monkey off my back as far as my dad was concerned, quite honestly. It was a sense of you establishing yourself. This has nothing to do with your father now. This is your fellow Academy members saying, yeah, you deserve a nomination. The win was just gravy.
After that, there was a series of films. I should mention Romancing Stone in '84 and Jewel of the Nile in '85, which you also acted. Mm-hmm. There's also a story that Kathleen Turner was not going to act in the second film, Jewel of the Nile.
That's correct.
And you sort of said, well, we have a little contract here, and it says that you're going to be in this movie, and you will be in this movie.
That's correct. That is correct. We can joke about it and laugh about it now. She's a wonderful actress. I did 3 movies with Kathleen, Romancing the Stone, Jewel of the Nile, and The War of the Roses. Yeah. Enjoyed working with her, and particularly I was producing 2 of those pictures, and she was very patient and supportive to me in the very difficult environments in Mexico and Morocco.
All right. This is from Wall Street, 1987. Gordon Gekko delivers Greed is Good. Take a look.
I am not a destroyer of companies. I am a liberator of them.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works. Greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit. Greed, in all of its forms, Greed for life, for money, for love, knowledge, has marked the upward surge of mankind, and greed, you mark my words, will not only save Teldar Paper, but that other malfunctioning corporation called the USA. Thank you very much.
Let me just talk about a couple other films that had to do with this sex trilogy. Fatal Attraction, and then the next one was Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Very conscientious effort, end of the 80s. There was a real conservative wind blowing out there, and I felt like doing a slam dance. And,
and you did.
And we did. It was really Joe Esterhaus screenplay. Paul Verhoeven, wonderful director. A lot of people don't know his Dutch pictures, Soldier of Orange, Spetters, Fourth Man, and we did it. And we dove in. We knew the kind of commitment we were going to have to make with Paul. And Paul, like our director David Fincher on The Game, had a vision. You know, you knew going in, the man saw the picture in his head from beginning to end, and it's a great talent, and you really just want to fulfill their sense of rhythm.
Did you know it was going to be as controversial and do as well as it did?
Neither on either case, no, we didn't. We never anticipated the militant gay reaction that we got while we were shooting in San Francisco. And that was, quite a surprise to us.
Because she was a lesbian, was that the deal?
Because she was a lesbian
murderer,
and the portrayal of gays in a way. But I mean, the Italians were tired of, mafia was tired of playing killers, and it's an issue. But it was disconcerting, to be in sort of what I saw as my second hometown and going to work with 50, 60 riot police officers surrounding the set all the time, and these people screaming at us from a distance. And the success, no, I didn't. But we did it right. I mean, I'm proud. People talk about it. People try to do pictures like Fatal Attraction. People try to do films similar to Basic Instinct, but they've set kind of standards on their own.
And then came Disclosure in 1995.
Mm-hmm.
The third of those sets.
Right. Well, a theme that runs through a lot of my pictures that I think is an issue is the uncomfortableness of the relationship between men and women. And particularly in the last 20 or 30 years since the women's movement has started, we haven't worked all the kinks out on this yet. It's kind of going back, but there was a strong voice initially, and I think we're both struggling, men in particular, of how to deal or relate with each other. And Disclosure, Michael Crichton's a novel, very, very, very good novel I liked a lot. And it had an interesting reverse sexual harassment issue.
There's an interesting thing about you. You have been good for women in the film because of the fact, I don't know whether you get credit for this, you have been in movies with women who've had great roles. Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct, Demi Moore, back to Fatal Attraction as well.
Well, I'm proud of the fact. Yeah, I'm very proud of the fact that as a producer and actor, that women involved in films with me have done really, really well. You go back to Louise Fletcher, who won the Oscar in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Jane Fonda in The China Syndrome, the three pictures with Kathleen Turner, Glenn Close, Ann Archer in Fatal Attraction, Sharon Stone, Demi Moore, Annette Bening in The American President, all did some of their best work.
And why is that?
That's the same reason, Charlie, we're talking earlier about the producing part of looking for scripts, is because I only want the movie to be as good as it possibly can be. And so that means that every actor or actress should be as good as they can be. Some actors are threatened by good actors or actresses. I figure it's only to make a better movie. And the only thing that matters is the movie. If the movie is good, it'll benefit all of us. But some actors who get in a position of power start either rewriting their part for their image, and they start messing up the chemistry. And I think what's happened, particularly in the sex trilogy that you're talking about, is to give the actresses a feeling of comfort that you are looking out for them. And then they are more relaxed, and it's easier for us to kind of carry out this stuff that we have to do.
Do you have a sense that they appreciate it, that they know?
They do after the fact, yeah. I mean, sometimes, Glenn was sweet on Fatal Attraction. We talked about it, and she appreciated it. I think Sharon realized a little bit more afterwards, and Jean Triplehorn, the other actress, I think they realized afterwards a little more of that.
Is this, at the end of these movies, when they began to appear in the press, all these stories about, so that who you were on screen began to be the perception of what your life was about off screen?
Yeah, that's an issue that exists today. That's another part of this whole.
Even today.
Oh yeah, probably this whole paparazzi issue and the tabloids in an effort to try to tie or link things together.
You must then, tell me what you think of sort of the paparazzi.
Well,
in terms of people,
I'm sure you've been dealing with this a lot,
and tonight including
lately. All right, we should talk a little bit about Diana, I think, and I'm really saddened that there's been no mourning period for Dodi and for Princess Diana. That this media, in terms of this tragedy, has just overwhelmed the fact of anybody really having a chance to grieve, particularly for her. I was pleasure to know both of them personally, separately, and they were good people. A lot has been said about the paparazzi, so-called the photographers, and unfortunately, some of that has been diminished by the fact that the driver was drinking. But the other issue, and in that sense, I think that Diana, who was attacked by this more than anybody else in the world by celebritydom, was a saint and has sacrificed herself for this issue, and unfortunately. But it's not necessarily photographers. That's a small part of it when you say paparazzi. It's about spying. It's about tabloids and magazines and newspapers who encourage people outside civilians to give them information, and they will pay them cash. It's about our daily trade papers having large ads in the back saying, "We pay for information," the National Enquirer. So that calls people to listen on telephone conversations. It causes people to go through garbage. It creates spies.
Causes people to do what happened to Frank Gifford.
It causes people to do what happened to Frank Gifford. This is a disease. It is not. It's like a disease, like a bad insect that came into this country. Didn't originate here. It started off in Australia, traveled to London, and now this disease, this insect, has come here to this country, and it should be exterminated. Because I don't know the exact answer, but this is spying. And if we were in a war, I know what they did to spies. But I don't think anybody who reads this...
They shot him.
They shot him, that's right. I don't think anybody who reads this crap really would think it's worth it. If they knew the extent of sources say, or the extent of prying and spying that went on. I had a premiere of the game tonight, and I have no problem standing in front of all the photographers or asking questions, and I know if I'm going to go out in public, that's an issue. But there are boundaries here, and I believe there is a movement that's beginning to come afoot, which has really got to be initiated in England right now, because this is where the source of a lot of this has, and will be felt, to put some controls. I respect the fact that these tabloids have a right to exist, but I think they should be able to only use their own photographers that they employ, reporters that they employ. This whole idea of asking people, just anybody, to spy and will pay you for it as a cheap way to do their job is unacceptable.
At this time, and all of the publicity that you received and all of the attention drawn to you,
right.
What was it that was it the invasion, or was it that they got it wrong about you, or what was it that was offensive to you? The caricature of Michael Douglas.
That my family had to read things, or had to deal.
Your son, your wife.
My son, my wife, and my immediate family had to be embarrassed. Being a second-generation actor, having to grow up around it all of my life, that's one of the strongest attributes about being second-generation. but to subject a young boy to some of the things that were said and done and have to try to explain to him, yes, I know it says that, but that's not true. That didn't happen.
What did happen, though, for you, is that what you've acknowledged is that there was a kind of indulgence on your part in terms of perhaps drinking too much.
Yeah, I went to rehab.
And you went to rehab.
I went to rehab, absolutely. I went to rehab at a time soon after Basic Instinct. Okay. And so what happened was, rather than, you know, first of all, I got in there, and then the problem, of course, is that you've got some guys in there that are perennial rehabbers, have been there fifth or sixth, or druggies, and they go, hey, I got an idea, and they blow the whistle on you because they can call these guys and they pay money. Right. Then the people that run the rehab places, I hate to tell you this, but we had two, we thought patients coming in today. We went through their suitcases, but they have tape recorders and cameras, and they're obviously reporters. And then they would bribe the administrative nurses thousands of dollars for information at a time when you're trying to deal with your issues. So this is why, Charlie, I have a very strong feeling about the total lack of humanity. I mean, as it is, it's difficult enough for celebrities to reach out for help and to be in that kind of group environment, and to be raped or abused at that particular time was strictly offensive. And so their choice was, hey, we know rehab, everybody does rehab, but sex addiction, hey, Basic Instinct, we'll tie this together. And before you know it, you have to struggle and with that sort of a yoke for 3 or 4 years around the world, you know, talking to people, you know, I mean, people who read this stuff and say, well, who are you? And, you know, it's finally dwindled out and exhausted itself as we go on, but it was painful for me, and it was very painful for my family.
But you said one interesting thing. You said you went into all this to save your marriage, and you came out saving your life.
Yes, it was a very, very interesting, insightful time. I'm not somebody who does a lot of introspection, and you do a lot of it, you know, right in your face when you're in these situations. I savored the opportunity to be in groups and to be able to talk to people, but you do this supposedly all under the act of anonymity. And the difficulty is, of course, that they all know who you are, and it's a hard thing to be able to function that way.
I want to come and talk about your father, because I did a wonderful interview with your dad, as you know.
I know. I saw it. It was great.
And he talked about you. Mm-hmm. I want to just play an excerpt from that, talking about the relationship, because you've already said that Fatal Attraction and Wall Street, in a sense, gave you a chance to say, look, Dad, my peers think I'm pretty good.
Right.
Roll tape. Right. Did you, in fact, say, go to your children, to Michael, and say, is there anything unspoken between us? Did you do any of that?
Absolutely. Indirectly, I did a lot of that. You know, you begin to settle the score. You begin to think of people who are important in your life, who helped you at different times. And I find myself writing to them and thanking them. You know, you begin to try to be more aware of the world around you and what your relationship is to that world, instead of being so wrapped up in yourself.
No, what did you say specifically? Because much has been made about the relationship between you and Michael. I asked that in the context of the relationship between you and your father, because you wrote in The Ragman's Son that you never got the approval you wanted.
Well, you know, for example, I learned to be able to say, for instance, any conversation I had with my 4 sons, I have wonderful sons, they're all different, all functioning. I never end a conversation without saying, I love you. Yes. And I noticed that all my sons, especially Michael, I would say, I love you, Dad. And you know, you think if that's the last thing they might hear from you, it's not a bad thing to be said. You see, my father never could say that, you know.
Different time, different circumstances.
Of course.
How much of him is in you?
Half.
No, it's more. It's more than that. I mean,
well, it is and is. I love my father, and I want to give my mother some credit too, right, who is not as well known. Diana, who
they were divorced 6 years after you were born.
Yes, that's correct.
And you moved back to Connecticut.
With them, right? And so she's a large part. But what do I mean, for my father, I think that the tenacity and stamina and analytical ability a kind of a quest, a drive, a quest, a searching ability, a loner quality, being an independent. He was an independent producer as well. He's working very hard on trying for me to gain his sense of the Talmud and the faith.
Yes.
You know, he's been studying very hard the last few years on the Old Testament with a rabbi, and has brought him tremendous, really value to his life. And this new book he has called Climbing the Mountain coming out is quite amazing. And for a lot of people who have retired and start withering away, it's something to watch. My dad, who's on his 5th book since he was 70 years old, just finished his 5th novel plus a couple of children's stories, that he's still growing as a person. But my mother is
yes.
Protestant.
Yeah.
And I've tried to explain to Dad that that's an issue for a lot of people in his faith.
That's great. He says, I mean, what's interesting, this is a great relationship to explore, you and your father. I mean, he was quoted as saying that there was a madness about you at one point. You know,
Takes one to know one. I said, I'll bet he was the first one to identify it.
He said you were capable of.
Yeah, I got the crazies. I got a little of the, whatever it is, the crazies or the absurdity, not being able to see life necessarily in this whole, you know, nice package. We talked, you know, some lies have been made in my earlier childhood, we didn't get along. I don't think that was so much an issue. He was just working his butt off. I mean, this is in the early days.
Like father, like son.
Well, Charlie, he's done 82 films, all right? I said I've done, I think, 23, 24, but the whole business was different then. He would do 3, 4 pictures a year. There wasn't much television out there, you know, certainly no cable, satellite. You had 2 networks, possibly a third sometime. So movies was your main outlet. So, you know, we worked a lot, and I went through my rebellious stage, but I did not expect, as I passed 50, and they talked about, well, you become the father and the father becomes the son. I never anticipated at this point in my life that my dad would be such a dad. And I'm
such a dad.
Such a dad.
What do you mean?
I mean, as he said, he's loving, he's supportive. I've had a tough 2 or 3 years, and I've been able to lean, you know, on him, and he's been. I enjoy spending time with him. Plus, I can beat him in golf. He's 80 years old. If I can't beat him now, I got no problem.
You also, on September 12th, are going to go out there and put your hand on the Grumman's Theater right next to his?
Yeah, actually, they changed the days to be September 10th.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I didn't think a lot about it, but then to see Dad get so excited, you know, about sort of a sense of immortality and a continuity of generations, and to, you know, to go there and put him out there and have him next. And we're going to be the first family from 2 generations that will have done it. And then it got me thinking, you know, he first started making movies about 1946, 47. So this is that's 50 years of filmmaking between the 2 of us now. I'm going to go into the next millennium. So that's a lot of time, a lot of
Do
movies.
you solicit his advice? Does he talk about the films you make?
I don't need to solicit it. There's no need to solicit advice with Dad. He loves to give advice. He loves to give advice, and he's very good. He's a wise man, and I can't say anything more than the fact that I would hope that I could achieve some of the wisdom that he has at this point in his life.
It also should be said, your mother, after the divorce, went out to Hollywood and came back, remarried, and had a very happy marriage. Am I right?
Wonderful
and
marriage.
And you liked him a lot, your stepfather.
William Darrett, who we lost 5 years ago, and I appreciate you saying that because I basically grew up with my mother and my stepfather up in Connecticut in a kind of a real-life situation. And Dad, my father, would be the first one to acknowledge Bill Darrett as the surrogate father that he was, and was very important in terms of my brother Joel's and my grounding to be in a real family environment far removed from Hollywood.
Will you ever work with your father in a film?
I hope so. I mean,
well, come on. I mean, you're a producer. What do we need
I'm
here?
trying because I got to find.
The Song for David was the idea for a while.
We're still working on it. I have a meeting tomorrow.
What does it take?
Well, it's hard
I'm
to get material.
Speaking for your father now. I mean, he's
it's
ready.
Not a question.
He's
there.
there.
You're getting me guilty, Charlie? I'm doing the best I can.
He's coming here in 2 weeks.
I know.
And I want to show him the tape with you and say, look, I asked for your behalf. Why can't we make this movie?
Dad will tell you more than anybody else how tough it is to get a good piece of material together.
Oh, yeah, find a good script.
And we're going to be working on it, and we still are, and I hope so. He's got...
You got to want to do this. I mean,
I desperately want to do it. He's already given me all his notes of how to develop a character with a stroke, how the stroke is going to work for him, and so we'll be in good shape. I hope so. It'll be nothing to make me happier, but it's got to be right. And I think, unfortunately, because it is a one-shot deal and we are father-son, we feel an added pressure to try to do it right.
I mean, mention a couple of other movies. The American President. You like that?
I like that movie a lot.
A different film for you.
Yeah.
A good guy.
Good guy.
No moral conflict there. He was
well
having a little
written,
thing.
a positive, great lyrical message. I like that movie a lot. I like Black Rain a lot. One we haven't mentioned that I like really a lot.
The Japanese.
Right, in Japan. The whole thing had a really interesting theme. I like the movie generally. Falling Down was another one that I thought was kind of interesting about the kind of defense worker in Los Angeles who was out of work. But American President was the most romantic, kind of romantic comedy. Again, it was very nice to be able to have that in your repertoire.
Would you do something like that again if Rob Reiner would call up and say...
In a millisecond. I'm dying to find something that's a little lighter on its feet, you know, that could be fun. I'm looking for something with social redemption, honest I am.
Now, is it hard to find movies?
Yeah, it's harder now. Yeah, it's not good. We thought last year was sort of a fluke in terms of the independent pictures succeeding at the Oscars. It's not true. I think the major studios are in trouble. Whatever it is, the fact they've all become kind of conglomerates, the fact that studios now are asked for quarterly performance statements like big companies are, that they're hurting. The material's not good. So I think you're going to continue to see the more interesting stuff coming out.
But I mean, I remember you got about $500 million together to make 12 movies. How far along are you on that?
We're out of that.
You're done that.
We're done with that. No, we didn't make them. We only made about 3. We invested in a couple of pictures with Paramount. Sabrina was one of them. A picture called The Ghost in the Darkness.
Right.
And I have a new production coming out.
You starred in that too,
co-star. And we have a picture coming out. Then we produce Face Off.
Right.
That's
going to make some money for you.
That's going to do okay. And then we're going to do, we have John Grisham's The Rainmaker is coming out in the fall, directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
If you weren't acting, I mean, you know people from all aspects of life, what would you do? You'd make movies, or would you like to be a corporate titan?
No.
Power.
I mean, it's so hard to to imagine if you weren't doing it. What I would like to do in terms of carrying into the future is I'd like to take the fact that I'm well known around the world and use it in a more positive nature in terms of something either connected with United Nations, UNICEF, the World Bank, some area, some type of ambassador of goodwill.
A kind of payback for what life has been good to you.
Yeah, well, I enjoy it. You know, I've sort of followed my dad's footsteps. We've got a charitable foundation, and it's nice. It gives you a good feeling of satisfaction. So we're known all over the world very well, and I'd like to use it.
You mean you and
my fathers and actors are, succeed all around the world, so I'd like to find an area to do some work in that area.
You like politics?
I follow politics pretty well. I can't say who likes them, but I follow it pretty carefully. I think it's our responsibility, and I try to get active in supporting who I can.
You're a strong supporter of the president.
Very strong supporter of President Clinton. I think he's done an extraordinary job, and I'm proud to see him finally getting some of the recognition that's due.
All right, here's a clip from the American president. Let me just show that before we come back. Here it is. All right, so here we are. A new movie, The Game. Going to produce stuff coming up. You look at where you are. I mean, what's there to complain about?
Not a thing. I'm a happy camper. Do I look like I'm complaining?
No, I tell you what, you've had a tough couple of years. Marriage, your father's illness, your mother's cancer.
It's life. It's life. I mean, I was cruising for a bruising.
Were you really? No, life had been good for you.
I've been going along for a pretty good time. And I think, that was my time. I'm really hopeful. I'm moving back here to the city now, to my old apartment. I'll be here this fall, starting a new movie in the city, so I don't have to travel or go anywhere, kind of catch up with my old friends. I mean, the big thing for me now is, as Dad sort of said in his clip earlier, is, you know, once you've achieved a lot for yourself personally in your work, is to reconnect with those people that mean something to you, and that's sort of where you get your satisfaction and joy.
Yeah, you think about that also, what you said earlier, when you think about Princess Diana. I mean, that was really the connection she had with people. She was obviously doing something.
Yeah, and people recognize the difference between it just for image and superficial and the real commitment sacrifice she was making.
When you look back, would you change anything about the way it's turned out? I mean, you might wish not so much personal pain in your marriage.
Oh, sure. You know, I would certainly wish that. And, you know, you wish you'd kind of got a little earlier start in what you wanted to kind of do, or a little handle on it. But I don't think so. I mean, I think the nurturing of one's spiritual life is important. I grew up in a family that had no formal religious training.
And now your dad's an avid reader of the Torah.
Now he sure is. Now he's making up for lost time. Right?
But you know what's amazing about him? I mean, just say it, because he's going to be here in a couple weeks. He had that brilliant career as an actor, and then he started writing books. And he attacked writing books like he attacked acting. And he had a bestseller.
Well,
Ragman's Son. Whatever.
Ragman's Son. He has to attack to live. Really? He's one of those people who the motivation for living is to accomplish and do something, and that's that satisfaction. It's a tough way to go, but that's the way he wants to do it. And you can see the ultimate rewards. And I'm
Don't you think you'll be the same way?
The writing thing is the one that gets me, Charlie. I just don't know if I will or not. I don't see it on the horizon. I kind of see myself in the seniors golf on a golf tour myself.
What's
some
your
kind of celebrity
handicap?
senior. I'm a 16, struggling. I haven't broken 80 yet, trying to get under 80, but I see this, maybe we'll produce this senior celebrities golf tour, you know. Nicholson, me, and a bunch of old guys will travel around the world.
What is it about sports for you? I mean, you love sports.
You don't know how it's going to end.
Right.
Movies, you can always guess the ending. A sporting event, you don't know how it's going to end, and it's an individual performance at that moment.
It's the joy of watching people.
No retakes, no nothing. You've seen each other at the basketball games, right, and you watch the next, and you look up on the screen, watch the instant replay, think, how could that person at that moment conceive and come up with that? And you never know what the result's going to be. Movies, I can kind of guess the ending most of the time.
What else is a passion of yours these days? I mean, is spirituality a part of what you are?
I'm looking and searching. I don't have any answers for you.
But you're looking
on
and
that
searching.
one. Yeah, I think definitely.
Are you
a lot of the aspects in this character that I play in the movie The Game, I could relate to in terms of somebody who is at a vacuum, and ultimately, hopefully, I'll have an easier lesson than my character.
But you're finding some sense of.
Well, I'm finding how to enjoy life. I think once you pass 50, you got to take a little inventory. And before, where I just dealt instinctually and dealt with what was handed me to the best I can, there's a certain plotting that involves and trying to to enjoy the quality of life. I guess the same reason people get to appreciate a finer wine, you get to enjoy the smaller things in life that make your life feel better. And one of them is sharing with friends, spending more time with friends.
Great to have you here.
Charlie, I've been a long time. My pleasure. As I said, a big fan.
We'll meet you on the golf course.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Pleasure. The film is called The Game. Michael Douglas, Sean Penn, directed by David Fincher. Thank you for joining us for this hour. We'll see you next time.